Thanks for tuning in to this ISO Byte video series where we bring you bite-sized ISO videos. In this series, we'll talk about the updates to the ISO 27001 framework issued in the 2022 update. We'll cover all of the Annex A controls, both the new controls as well as the existing ones, to make sure that you have everything you need to implement them effectively in your organization. Our next control category is asset management. There are no new controls as a part of this operational capability category, so you should be familiar with these if you've already been certified in the past. The first of these is 5.9, an inventory of information and other associated assets. ISO wants to see that you are maintaining an inventory of not only your hardware and systems and infrastructure, but also other information related to the ISMS, things like software, people, processes. So make sure that you have put a lot of thought into what your assets are that are in scope for the ISMS, and that you have a documented asset inventory. The biggest gotcha I've seen with this one is people struggle to keep these maintained and updated, so ensure that you're building processes that are scalable. The next one is 5.10, acceptable use of information and other associated assets. The control for this one reads that rules for acceptable use and procedures for the handling of information and other associated assets should be identified, documented, and implemented. This pairs with some of the other controls around data classification. You want to make sure that you're classifying your data and your assets clearly, you're labeling them so people know what those classifications are when they go to use them, and that they are addressing this control, which is focused on giving people rules of how to handle those based on that classification. The next one is 5.11, return of assets. This one is simply intended to build processes, procedures, policies for making sure that assets are returned in a timely manner when people leave the organization, when things are decommissioned. Essentially, when an asset needs to be returned back to the business, you want to make sure that you have documented processes and procedures for that people can follow. 5.14 is information transfer. This covers all types of transfer. This control could be very broad, but I would encourage you to sit down and really think about the scope of your ISMS and understand what type of information transfers happen to facilitate the products and services that you offer to the market. Document those and then sit down and build procedures, SOPs, things like that around how that information should be transferred. Transfer to and from clients is usually covered in a contract, but internal transfers to and from systems, people, teams, departments, those things should be documented and spelled out and able to be evidenced to an auditor. The next one is 5.37, documented operating procedures. This one covers all documented operating procedures. So the control language reads, operating procedures for information processing facilities should be documented and made available to personnel who need them. Again, this is a broad control, but you should sit down and determine what are the procedures that we need to have documented. A good way to think about this is if someone critical to operations was no longer available, what types of things would need to be written down on paper for others to fill in for them? Go down the list, think about the people that keep your business running, the people who probably have a lot of tribal knowledge or acquired knowledge over the years, and document the procedures that they execute on a day-to-day basis. The next control is around remote working, 6.7. So this control reads that security measures should be implemented when personnel are working remotely to protect information accessed, processed, or stored outside the organization's premises. Essentially, in this world, especially that we live in post-COVID, a lot of people are working from home. You want to make sure that you have documented processes, procedures, and standards that you expect your employees, contractors, and others who may be accessing your in-scope data written down and applied to how they're working from home. So make sure that you spend some time documenting your remote work procedures and expectations for people within your organization. The last one is 8.1, user endpoint devices. This is a very broad control. It says information stored on, processed, or accessible via user endpoint devices should be protected. That can mean a lot of different things. So step one is making sure you have a crisp, clear understanding of the information that is stored on your assets. Step two is going to be talking about and determining all of the various controls that need to be implemented to ensure that's protected, and we'll get into some of those later. Thanks for tuning in to this ISO Byte video series. If you'd like to learn more about updates to the framework, check out a link in the description below to a white paper we've written. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content like this. Look for us on LinkedIn, and also check out our website at risk360.com to learn more about how Risk360 may be able to help you achieve your security and compliance goals.